I'm Mark Newble, and welcome to Beast TV. I'm here beside me with my co-host, Pretty Boy, Larry Porch II. How you
Pretty
doing
boy.
tonight? How you doing tonight, Larry?
Man, I'm doing great for right now, but pretty boy? Where'd that come from? So let
we
me ask you this before we get started. What's with that creepy music there at the beginning?
ah Man, I don't know. I just got looking at the beginning of our videos and I thought, man, we need some creepy music playing at the beginning. And I wrote that song in about 45 seconds and recorded it. And within 10 minutes, I had it on our video. And I don't know. I just thought it was pretty creepy. And I had to name it something to put it on my computer, so I just named it Slee Stack Lurking. So
The old Slee
the
Stacks.
old Slee Stacks from Lost in Time.
I thought it was a Land of the Lost.
Land of the Lost. Yeah, I guess it was
Okay. All
Land of
right.
the Lost. Um, well, we want to welcome everybody. We want our chat is open, and Larry is monitoring that. And we ask that y'all keep it clean on there. And we also want to welcome all of our new subscribers. We picked up a lot of subscribers from last week with having Cam on. So we just want to thank y'all for subscribing, and we really appreciate y'all. Larry, why don't you tell us a little bit about our show tonight and who we have on?
Well, tonight, like you already said, we've got Shane Church on from the Southern Bigfoot Alliance. He's brought some excellent evidence to go over. He's going to talk about the research area and the things they do in their group. So, Shane, how are you tonight?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Great.
Shane, let me ask
hmm
you, when did you develop an interest in Bigfoot?
Me personally, I was a kid. My stepdad used to watch In Search of, hosted by Leonard Nimoy, and I remember him watching the Bigfoot episode, and I actually watched that one over and over again, still to this day, because I can remember the sounds, the music that was made to produce that show, and I was playing with my toys, and they showed the Patterson Gimlin footage, and I remember actually looking at the TV, and kids are young-minded and innocent, and it just really stuck with me. Didn't really act on it until I was about 40. Um, Also had Monster Quest. When that sparked up, that kind of like reinitiated the fuse.
I think Monster Quest really brought a lot of people's
Yeah.
interest up into Bigfoot that always had it in the back of their minds.
hmm Definitely. Monster Quest was a great show. I still watch them to these.
Yeah, me too. They are good.
So
Let,
from, I guess, when Monster Quest was going on, I turned 40. I was like, you know what? It's time to live an adventure. Um, so I joined a Bigfoot group. And within that Bigfoot group, I started talking to a couple of guys. And we decided to make our own effort because, we kind of weren't feeling what we were in was what we were wanting to do. So here we are, SBA, we're me, Brian, Dustin, um, Kendall, Jacob, and Joe De Hoyos was actually, we all together started it.
Tell us a little bit how y'all went about organizing y'all's group.
Oh my God, it was a lot of trial and error for sure. First, it was just like, you know, Joe and I, we go off in Texas. Brian and Dustin are in Oklahoma, so of course that was their base. Kendall was in Arkansas, so he was kind of doing that thing. We had one other guy, Jacob, that lived in Dallas, and he never went out with me in Texas, like as far as like Sam Houston National Forest area. Jacob and I actually met up because of a Dogman episode. I think it was episode 106. I was listening to it, and I was like, wait a second, this is close to where I live. So Jacob and I started talking about it. We found out where it was, listened to the episode over and over again. Actually, talked to the witness. Went out there. We found the the area where in the episode they were talking about they saw coyotes and the babies, and they were kind of messing with them, and then something jumped in the creek and came running at them. So it was always very spread out at first, and it wasn't until we all met up in Falk. And if you've been on our group page, you can see us all posing in front of the Bigfoot that's coming out of the Monster Mart. And that kind of like brought us together. You know, we canoed, we hit the swamp, we chased gators. Um, there was a little incident out there where we were in Mercer Bayou where it looked like something kind of stepped on the bank and like maybe put its knee into it. It was like this big kind of gougy kind of thing. And Dustin, he went up there to go check it out. I was already at the boat dock with a few of the guys. I went up to the top of the dock to get a phone signal, unsuccessful. But as I was, and it's not really a dock; it's more like a cement road that kind of just goes right into the bayou. And as I'm walking down that, we hear a tree just go bah, 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 and fall, like it's like snapping and falling.
Right.
And Jacob and I look at each other because we've already been out in the field once looking for a dog man in a really weird park near Dallas. We took off into the woods, and Jacob's not allergic to poison ivy at all. I am. I can't even get near this stuff. And so I'm trying to follow a path, and he's zooping all through the woods, you know, like, hey, looking at me like, what are you doing? Come follow me. And we ended up going a little bit further. We're trying to find this tree. I don't know if you've ever traversed the territory over in Falk, especially when it's swampy and marshy.
I have. I've actually done some marine operations there and done a lot of night hikes. I have spent a lot of time at Falk. It's a cool place to go to.
Oh, it's magical. It really is. So, you know, it's like a little bit of land, swamp, a little bit of land, you know, it goes on and goes on and goes on. So we hear something in front of us, and it's actually Dustin, who's walked down the bayou's, you know, beach area, I guess you could say. And he's walking towards us, and we're like, well, what are you doing? He's like, well, we got out down there because we saw something on the bank that was interesting. And while Dustin was out there, he could hear something moving around. I believe he got close to whatever it was. And what Dustin was telling us is it sounded like if you're barefooted and you're stepping in mud and you're just kind of squishing, it's almost like he said it was like kind of squishing his feet like back and forth or something. He couldn't put eyes on it. And we ended up going back to, you know, the dock area and just kind of meeting up there and talking about it and saying, we'll come back out here tonight and check it out. Never could find that tree. I mean, we found a broken tree, but you know, nature breaks trees all the time.
Right.
It was just a weird thing that happened. You got something on the bank. You got Dustin up in the woods. He's hearing squishing sounds. We're, you know, 50 yards away from him, hearing a big old tree snapping. It really fueled us as a team. First of all, because that was like the first time we were together, so it was interesting. And so from there, we just, you know, we've built our page. We've we've grown tremendously. We've hosted 2 youth events, which have been, I'd say, pretty successful. The last one last summer, Brian had the kids out there casting their own footprints. He bought them all headlamps. So, you got a bunch of kids running around the woods with their headlamps on and stuff. Try to make it fun. And just, I don't know, just from there, we just keep on growing and trying to figure out new ways to run a group and not be like everybody else. We've opened up a territory, the Bison Area, which is close to Smithville kind of area. Hochatown, over in those woods. That the area out there is vast. It's huge, and we're not going to keep it to ourselves because we need more people. We need feet on the ground. We need eyes and ears in the woods as a collective.
Well, going back a little bit, now, when y'all started the SBA, what type of protocols did y'all agree on whenever y'all started it, that y'all feel that y'all needed a good backstop in place for y'all's group?
We just wanted to run for the most part, a clean, healthy environment. You're going to get people that are going to send pictures that have dark spots in the woods and circles and so on and so forth. We're not going to judge you. That was our big thing, is we're not going to bash you, because everybody has a different depth of perception, period.
Right.
Everybody thinks differently. And even within the group, we all think differently. We can argue about stuff, because we all think totally different. So we just really wanted to base it ground level on something positive and not point fingers or anything of that nature.
In your mind, what do you perceive Bigfoot being? What do you think this creature is?
Me personally, I don't know. I lean towards more like it's a relic hominid. You just listen to the report. Some people say they look like a monkey or a gorilla. Some people say they look like a Native American. I mean, what could it be? Is it a descendant from Gigantopithecus? Possible. But for some reason, deep down inside, I just lean towards a relic hominid, maybe a missing link in the lineage. I don't know. That's just how I think. But Brian and Dustin, the other guys, we have different outlooks on that when it comes to what it is.
Yeah, Larry and I have different opinions on it. But
I'm right.
You're right. Okay. Yeah. All right, pretty boy.
Well, let me say before we go any further, some people are wondering where Brian and Dustin are. Brian had an issue come up late, and he couldn't make it, and Dustin also did. They didn't stand us up. They had legitimate stuff come up that they had to take care of. So,
right before.
Yeah, we actually had them logged on, and about 5 minutes before we went on the air, they both had emergencies come up. So we really hope they get those emergencies taken care of.
They will.
Or Shane's gonna harass them.
Oh yeah, I get to get them now for sure.
Now, whenever you go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to ask Shane that if anyone is interested in joining the SBA, what measures do they go to make new members feel inclusive or feel welcome?
Well, like if you want to join the group, usually you hit a I want to join button, and we'll take a look at you. We can usually tell if you're a troll or not. We actually had a guy come in one time, and because I create all the art and everything for the page, and he actually took the art and started a Southern Bigfoot Alliance 2 page. And of course, I had to get in the middle of that because, when you work hard at something and someone just takes it from you, there's copyright and so on and so forth. But as long as you're not like a Nazi baby killing weirdo, you're you're pretty much welcome into the group. And we all see things differently, so we can all get a new member. I'll take a look at him, him or her, and we can discuss it. It's usually really quick, and approve them or whatever. But it's pretty simple. We're a very simple kind of group.
What are some of the differences y'all have in opinions on the subject?
Well, let's say, for instance, Squatch Creek, that area. Me personally, I think where we've been casting prints is kind of like a stop and go migratory path, and that's just where they're going. That's me. Brian seems to believe that they're nearby and they're there all the time. Dustin really hasn't given his opinion on that as much. So, I mean, it's really hard to explain that. Now, as far as the Bison area goes, we call it Bison. That's out there, Smithville, WMA, that kind of area. We all believe that they're all out there all the time. It's just the area is vast, and there's way too much area to cover. Way too much. We're not too far from X. We're not too far from other places that people are investigating, and saying that, the Southern Bigfoot Alliance, that last part, Alliance, is one of our main staples as a group. That, hey, let's join together. Let's figure this thing out. It's not a race. It's not a rat race. It's not a race to who gets what to who what first. Let's just figure this out, because we have a lot of people. You guys know, if you bring this subject up to most people, you're gonna get a smirk or a giggle, or like, oh, that's impossible. Well, I mean, that's because you're on your couch watching TV, and it's telling you what to do or what to think, and we're out there coming home later pulling ticks out of our back hind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. This afternoon, I was lambasted by my coworkers. Chris, if you're watching, hey, how are you? But yeah, it does. I've said it before. As a hunter, you can go hunting every day of your life. You can walk in 100 yards to that stand every time you go hunting and never see anything and not think anything's there. But whenever you go to these remote locations and you start really looking at the evidence that's out there and start listening to what's going on around you, there's something going on out there that's not a deer, a bear, a mountain lion, whatever you want to say. And it's one of those subjects that's always going to be touchy to people. There's going to be the detractors, and there's going to be the people that think it's possible. And there's very few people in the middle.
Yeah, there is. There's very few people. There's not very many animals that'll throw a rock at you.
No, definitely not. And we've had that happen quite a bit.
Yeah. You've heard of like squirrels and chipmunks or whatever, they'll throw nuts or whatever. They're not going to throw a rock. Something's going to make a thud on the ground. I don't see that.
Right.
I just don't see it.
And you have to have thumbs to throw something.
That's right. We had a group member, Tim. We were out in Bison area. Um, so one of the big things we like to do, one of our methods, especially out there in that part of Oklahoma, is we hit the waterways. We kayak, we canoe, and we cover lots of land, lots of banks. And banks seem to be our friend because they always tell a story, because they tell you what's coming down to drink water, what's passed through. And the big catcher for me on the Bison area was one time we we banked, we got out, and we saw a five-toed print. It was little. It was a little one. And I was like, no way. This was early on. I was like, no way. And then we kept seeing it going up the bank this way. And I was like, well, let's follow it. So we all agreed to kind of follow it. We probably walked about a good 80 yards or so. And this was the weird part, is because it veered off into the bush, and there was a worn out path around this tree. Well, the tree happened to be a persimmons tree, which bears fruit. And we really got to looking at it, and there was a branch that was kind of wedged into the tree, and it went across this way into other bush and tree, almost like it was used as like a leverage. Maybe, I don't know. That's just speculation. But when you follow little footprints to a tree that bears fruit, and there's a worn path, and there's that, and you're thinking, there's no way in hell anyone's dropping off their kid to walk down the bank over here. It's like water moccasin city over there, period. So that was like, I am coming back here, you know. And we did. We went back to that area and pushed and pushed. I don't know about you guys, but we have a lot of campsites that we have names for. Like, we call one the tunnel because in the trees it looks like there's a tunnel. Almost, it's not cut out; it's natural, but it just goes. It's just like a canopied tunnel of trees. So we call it the tunnel. We actually casted a bear print over there because it walked in the camp one night. Black
Cool.
bear. Yeah. So, man, we cast everything. You bring it at us, we're going to cast it. So we would camp as a big group at first, as a big collective. Now we just have like a base camp, like where we're all going to go and meet and eat. And then we try to push out smaller focus groups, across the territory. We try to keep it within walkie distance, but sometimes that doesn't happen. But I think small focus groups are good.
What kind of tools of the trade do y'all use? Like recorders or plot watchers, or anything like that y'all use for y'all's advantage?
Okay, so definitely audio recorders, digital audio recorders left in little trunks and on branches, so on and so forth. Game cameras. Man, Brian has a bug out that he pulls behind his truck, and it's like command center. There's a TV inside of it, good size LCD TV, and we have, I think it's 200 yards of wire. We spool out in 4 different directions, and those go into infrared cameras. So we get a big, huge perimeter around us. And man, I know Brian just sits in there and watches that TV. We've never really captured anything. Let me ask you guys this question: do you think that these entities can see infrared? Do you think they can see the light coming off these cameras?
I believe so, and I always had a suspicion, but one of the Sisters of the Moon, her name is Henry, and she told me the story of one time when she was in Sulphur, Oklahoma, and they spotted a booger, and the booger had its back to her, and she took a night vision camera, and she said as soon as she pulled the trigger on it to light it up, she said that this booger spun around and looked at her. She said she could see the hair on its arms, and the longer hair, she said, just it looked like it went airborne, just spinning around. And that's why I have the theory that they can see infrared like that, because it's almost like the further something is, the more that it would spread out. Like if you were using a temperature gun, and it has the little infrared dot on it, and you point it at something, it's not exactly on right where that dot is, because the further out it goes, the more it spreads out. And it just really made sense to me that as soon as she pulled the trigger on it, and she said immediately it just spun around and looked straight at her.
That's outstanding. Okay, so let me talk about Squatch Creek for a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so Squatch Creek came about because Brian was on this is funny, he was on a mushroom group page on Facebook. People that pick morel mushrooms, wild mushrooms. And young Hunter posted a picture of a footprint going, "What is this?" And of course, the hunter was clowned, and so on and so forth. And Brian PM'd this person, and he's like, "Please take me out there now." Brian's a silver-tongued devil, by the way. So Brian got out there. They showed the prints. There was 4 of them. The hunter tried to cast one, and so it was kind of gone. But there was 2 more that we did cast. Brian and Tim Autry casted that day, and there was another one that kind of went up on the bank, and it was, like a hill, kind of not definitive. You could tell that it had walked that way. So they casted those 2 prints, and those were 16-inch prints. And I went out the following day, and we ended up really looking at the area. And there's a dirt road that comes down right to that bridge. And you could see the same 16-inch. Now, that road is hard. There's no way you're going to leave a print in it. But you could see the disturbance. 16-inch. I believe it was a 4 foot and some change stride. And it went all the way up this road and went into the woods. So we followed it. And we followed it through the woods. I mean, I'm talking about just slowly taking it easy, looking for this indentation, measurements, the stride, and we followed it all the way to a barbed wire fence. And there was a huge disturbance on our side of the barbed wire fence. So we're thinking it stepped over the barbed wire fence, cut through the woods. This leads me to believe that they're intelligent. Why not take the dirt road? There's no trees. Just take it down. And so it walked down that road. Maybe a car was coming or something, and it stepped off and made those 4 tracks back up into the deep bush. Now, when Brian and I were actually looking at, we stayed out there all day. We were probably out there a good 6 hours just in that area. And we noticed between the second and third print above were the fresh green branch break. And you know what a fresh green branch breaker looks like. I mean,
Right.
It's bright. And we're thinking maybe in between these two steps, it snapped that off. And I sent you pictures of this too. So I threw a tape up, and it measured a good 8 foot 10 inches. So the 16-inch lever could possibly be 8 foot 10 inches. To come back in June and find a 20-inch track in the same area, I mean, my God, how big is that one?
Now, is this the same trackway that you sent me the video of? Or
No,
is it...
it's the same area, and we believe those are the same entities that were out there. So Brian originally went out there. It was April 17th of last year when the 16-inch tracks were casted. Okay, and that sparked our interest, and we went out there every month, staggered, because all of us live fairly close to it in some way or not.
Mm-hmm.
And we can always have someone kind of filtering in and checking it out. And June rolls around, and actually Kendall Gray met me out there, and we got out there a good 45 minutes to an hour before Brian did, and we were walking the area. Didn't say anything. Brian shows up. We're gonna walk the area again, the creek, and Brian's like, "What is that?" And what's funny was, so an hour of time passed by, but so did the sun.
Uh-huh.
So that made it look. You could see a different. When me and Kendall looked, we didn't see anything. And I guarantee you, people walk by stuff like this all the time. So Brian sees it. We're like, "Oh my God!" We cast it, and I was thinking, "Oh, okay, it does look like a big footprint." And I sent you the shot of it in the ground, and you can actually see where a deer stepped in it. Like in its post to get down and drink out of the creek.
Right.
Because there's a big deer track in close to the hill, and then there's one close to the toes, which at first I thought maybe it had something anatomically wrong with its toe. But after and when you pull a track, that's when you really get all the information. So we pulled it. Oh my God, a 20-inch track. We could see the deer tracks in it. Like, this thing's foot is about as long as a deer's 3 hooves of a deer sitting down to take a drink out of the creek. And then we're like, "Oh, okay, there's 2 of them." We're just thinking simply. So that was in June, so about a year ago, give or take. We went back there every month, 2 or 3 times a month, camping, you name it. And then January rolled around this last year, and Mr. B got out there early, sent us the picture with the wallet and the track. I did not know when we got out there that it was going to be that many tracks, because the one I filmed and I sent to you, that was one step. It went up on the bank, which is another thing that leads me to believe on the intelligence side. It stepped off into the mud, but then it went up on the bank.
Right.
And then came back.
I tell you what, why don't we show that video right now, and then we'll talk some more about it. Okay, we're going to show our audience the video.
Where is it at? The print right there, you can see the toes kind of dug. Came up on this ridge, stepped right there with a left, stepped right here with a right. We think it jumped over to right there. That's a print. It's kind of hard to see from here. In fact, I got boots on this one. Look at this shit.
that is an awesome trackway, Shane.
It is. It's outstanding. So did you play? So at the end of the video, I actually showed two of the tracks that were in that walkway.
Right.
The little muddy one before that is my own footprint because I casted it myself just to show scale. You know, when I'm talking to people about this. But you got to think about this too. It was January 18th. It was very cold out there. It was super cold. It was so cold that a lot of the things that we casted we couldn't pull because the plaster almost crumbled like feta cheese or something. It just, you couldn't pull it. We even started little fires by some of the tracks to bring heat. We actually even put coals on top of some of the tracks to maybe help that out. It didn't help it out much. But the one across the creek into the bank, the deep gouge, that one was completely successful. And it was at the end of the video, and you can actually see the toes going through the bank. What I love about this track, this is what I absolutely love, because everybody's always talked about they have a mid-tarsal hinge or a mid-tarsal break or however you want to say it.
Right.
So the initial hit in that bank, if you look way down the track, you can see where the big toe and all the toes first hit, and then there's the hill. Well, then the hill's gone. The hill doesn't go deeper. It doesn't move. It popped up for the other toes to just. So I think it completely supports mid-tarsal theory, period. I've just never seen anything like that. And I hope if we ever meet up, I'll bring it so you guys can actually see it in person. Video does so much, but actually seeing that thing in person, it'll blow your mind. And like I was saying, it's January 18th. The ground there was super hard. So I weigh 240 pounds. And when we initially went out there during the springtime, when the 16-inch tracks were casted, there's no way in hell. I tried. I jumped up and down. I did all kinds. I walked barefooted. I did everything you could do. I could not leave an indention or an impression like that in that Red River sand clay stuff they got going on in Oklahoma. It's just say it's not user friendly.
Right.
But
well, let me ask you this: have y'all studied the topo maps from where y'all found the trackway to look for possible trackways that y'all can start focusing your research on?
Yes, we have. It's amazing how many green belts and whatnot you see that lead to national forest or, big chunks of forest. I actually got in contact with a gentleman. He lives in the area, close to it. He has 7 siblings, and they all live within or around the area. And I probably talked to him for about an hour, and he was talking to me about the last 3 years of interaction he's had going into that area, close to it, and surrounding. His nephew was hog hunting, had 2 dogs with him. He said his nephew ran right in the midst of one. His dogs, they kicked rocks. They were gone. It turned and left, which is what you always hear. And the poor kid made it back to his vehicle and had to call his dad because he was so upset that he couldn't drive home. Upset. And then he's told me about getting screamed at out there. And it's just like, we never get that while we're out there, but, and within my theory, maybe, they're just passing through. And in Brian's theory, maybe they're passing through and going to the place where they, that's their home, or that's where they are indigenous to. It blows my mind, though. I mean, last June when we casted that 20-inch, I'm not going to lie, man, like 2-3 in the morning, I'd wake up and it was on my mind.
Yeah.
Just going, what? What is What are we doing? It's
Larry,
fascinating.
do we have any questions in the chat about the trackway they found, or any other questions for Shane?
Well, our research partner Eric asked on a personal level, what is Shane looking for in doing this?
What am I looking for doing this?
Yeah, what are you wanting to prove it to yourself, other people, put one on a slab, whatever?
I'm not out to put one on a slab personally. I just want to see it. I want to see it. Like I always, tell people that I talk to about this, like, well, what are you gonna do when you run into it or catch up to it? Well, I'm probably gonna crap in my pants first.
Yeah.
First of all, and then after my mind reboots and figures out what I'm seeing, hopefully I have enough brain left where I can film it or take a picture or whatnot. Am I gonna go hunt it down? I don't think so. You always hear people looking at these things through their rifle scopes, and you're like, you hear like, why didn't you take a shot or whatnot? You're like, it looked too human.
Yeah.
Is this murder? Yeah, I mean, I think it's fascinating, and I do believe they exist, and it's a different frame of mind. You have to really open it up. When you come across evidence like what we have, the tracks. When I first started doing this, I would say I was about 50% sure Sasquatch exists. I'm up to 95 now, only because I have
Yeah.
someone.
Right.
But tracks like that, and then measuring the 8 foot 10 inches, if that's what that is, what if this 20-inch one is like 10 or 11 feet? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Is the Incredible Hulk walking around in the woods making tracks? It's fascinating.
And it's an adventure.
It really is. You want to talk about Bison Area for a little bit? We really haven't found any tracks out there. But Brian, a year from this last November, was hunting with his son out there in an area we called the Old Well.
Uh-huh.
Because there's literally an old well out there that looks like it should be in a horror movie, and some little girl with long hair coming out of the well to come through your TV to get you kind of looking stuff. So Brian heard those sounds that I sent you, that clip, most of the weekend. And I did do a video breakdown on that sound because I'm a graphic artist. I use the Adobe Creative Suite. Been using it for 13 years, and I started using Audition, and I imported that sound in there and used the spectral wavelength. So you know about that, breaks it into colors.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fascinating because you got that long well. I don't know if you because I listen to this thing like at least twice a week. This is how hooked I am on this. It's like the first 10 seconds you're hearing a well. Towards the end of that, you hear a response, and the response sounds just like what was wailing, but it either sounds, I don't know, smaller, female. I don't know. I really don't.
Well, I tell you what, I actually took that audio clip and I cleaned it up a little bit, and I ran it on the spectrogram. So I'm going to play that video right now and I'm going to play it twice. And what I would like for people to notice about it is the first howl is a really long howl. And then there is a second howl, but it appears to be closer to the microphone because it is louder. And the second howl, the coyotes start up. And just as soon as the coyotes start up, what I believe is a booger shuts up. and it's just a good audio clip, and I'll play it right now. I never try to convince somebody that a Bigfoot is real. It's just something I never do. I never try to convince somebody. But what I will do is if they say, oh, that was a bunch of coyotes that started off, the thing about that is you can actually see the sound frequency of that it is two different critters, and it's right there in that range that we're looking for. Between this one here went from about 500 to about 675 hertz, and it's just a perfect howl. And one thing that I know Randy Savick had pointed out to me a long time ago, he said, you've got to pay attention because something sets them yotes off and gets the pack screaming. And what you've got to notice is what happened that got that pack to screaming. And this is a perfect example. Is Brian the one that actually recorded this? Shane?
Yes, sir. Brian recorded it. Yeah, Brian recorded that himself.
Can you tell us what he told you about that night hearing these vocalizations?
All I know is that he called me during the day of the first night, and he was like, man, there is something out here. I hope it's what I think it is, and it's almost like it's letting us know it's here. Like I said, him and his son were hunting. His son was posted up at a place to shoot a deer, and he was getting stuff thrown at him. And he called his dad. He's like, Dad, there's stuff being thrown at me. And his son he's not on the Bigfoot radar at all.
Right.
Brian's like, well, you just come right on back. So his son made it back to him, and as soon as like nightfall was starting to come, those sounds were starting. Not always necessarily with the coyotes in response, but those sounds went on. That Brian said he slept in his tent with every gun he brought, a hatchet, not you name it. He was like freaked out. And he even called Kendall up from Arkansas, and Kendall showed up and heard it for himself. But he was, as soon as he got back home, he sent me that audio, and I was just like, oh my God, wow, holy crap, that is insane. I mean, you can even hear it in the coyotes. They are uneasy.
Yeah,
for sure.
they are worked up. And I tell you what, when you're in a tent or a hammock, you realize how thin them walls are whenever you start getting vocalizations and activities coming in close to you.
I'm telling you. Yeah, it's a weekly thing. Brian and I are, every time we talk to each other, I'm like, man, I have listened to, we call it the old well audio. I listened to the old well audio a lot this week. Yeah, me too. It's just, I can't shake it. And like you've seen it on the spectrograph, and you can, and I don't know about you, I don't know what software you use or whatnot, but in Audition, like their pitch, it's a thick blue line, and it goes up and it flatlines at the top of the graph. whereas they're here, the coyotes kind of stay in this realm.
Yeah, the coyote uh, frequency signature usually looks like a half of a Christmas tree, and where it only has branches on one side of it, and it will shoot up to about 1800 to 2400 hertz, but a booger usually stays under 800, and and you can just tell the difference. And an interesting fact is science does not recognize that frequency signature as being any other animal. And there's no other animal that every animal has their own frequency signature. And this is one animal that doesn't, and science does not recognize it.
That is a total shame.
Yeah.
Now. Oh boy. To hear that in the woods, you'll get the real people that are really wanting to do this out in the woods. When they hear that, they're like, "Oh, I'm in." Or you have the people that are like, "I'm out of here."
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm out of here. Yes.
Larry, do we have any more questions?
Yeah, Andrew asked about the cast, if they're using plaster or what. What are y'all using to cast with?
Yeah, right now, I think we're going to change our plaster. Brian, he's in the fencing business. He has something he wants to initiate and use. He's used it once, just to cast like some raccoon tracks, and man, those things came out crystal clear, beautifully, just beautiful. For the most part, what we used was DAP plaster. It comes in like a little tub with a red lid. It can get expensive when you're casting 20-inch tracks.
Yeah.
In fact, that January 18th trip, we ran out of plaster. I'll say that. But we didn't get to plaster everything. So yeah, like go to Michael's or an arts and crafts store, get some DAP, or I think you can even get it at Lowe's or Home Depot. It's pretty good stuff if it's not super cold outside.
Andrew is one of our audio and video analysts, and he was an archaeologist for many, many years. And he's supposed to be doing a video for us where he's going to show how to cast and like hard soil, soft soil, and even underwater, how you can actually, if you find a print that has water in it, underwater, how to actually cast it. But he uses the same material to like what a dentist use.
Like dental stuff?
Yes. So,
another thing we like to do, and this is a good practice, is we get flashing, and we usually put a circle around the print and kind of clip it. You can pour away, and then you'll get like a nice round border around it, and it's thick, and that kind of helps when you're pulling it.
Right. Larry, do we have any more questions?
No, sir, we don't at this point. But I do.
Okay.
Shane, I know you said earlier, Shane, that Brian he saw the print, and that's what led him to that research area. What other areas? I know you're in Texas. Y'all research in Texas, Oklahoma. Where all do y'all research, and what leads y'all to those research areas?
Well, right now it's just Squatch Creek, Bison. I feel like if we get a bunch of different areas, we're going to wear ourselves thin. Yeah, I live in Texas, but buddy, my camping gear lives in Oklahoma. I can't get enough of Oklahoma. I just can't. I know there's a lot of efforts out of Sam Houston National Forest, which is probably a little bit closer for me to go. But I've invested way too much time into Oklahoma, And I think talking to people, like if you go to any kind of conference and just dive deep into the culture. Like we were in Hanobi last October, and we talked to a lot of interesting people, a lot of them Native American. Uh, those those folks know what's up. I'll tell you that right now. And we're invited out to their properties and whatnot, but they're usually pretty far away. We try to stick in the western or eastern part of Oklahoma for right now, until we feel like we've totally exhausted an area, or especially Bison, like how we opened it up to our group, and we've had group outings, and we've got to meet a lot of good people. Um, we're still wanting to go out there. We found an area. Actually, Brian and Tim did, and it's kind of like, you ever seen where the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans meet?
Mm-hmm.
You can really tell water's different.
Right.
Well,
Right.
they found a spot. It's like where the soft pines and the hardwood meet, and it's like a border. And when they were out there, they saw something big and black. And I remember them calling me, and they were all crazy, frantic, um, excited mostly. And we actually went back out there, and we stood some fellas out there where they saw in that area, this exact same spot. And two of us couldn't feel the void that was there that they saw that was black. So I think we're headed. We call it Camp Hardwoods, and I think we're headed there next.
Well, getting back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show, I really like y'all's group's name, Alliance, because that's when Larry and myself and Andrew Meisinger and Shelley Reed decided to start the Beast Group. We were so sick of these other groups saying my group is better than your group, or it seems like people want to be negative. If somebody's in a different part of the country, has a different group, and we wanted, no matter what group you were in, we wanted people to feel welcome to come to the Beast Group. And that's one thing that I really like about y'all's group. Y'all are looking at trying to solve this mystery. And you're looking with people that you have things in common with, that you can mesh together and go out and accomplish something, actually make some leadway. And I also like how y'all, well, I tell you what, y'all were really ridiculed whenever, was it the Bison area that you kind of opened up for other researchers to come in with y'all from other groups to come in? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was one of those, after we came back from investigating, we were like beat tired. We're like, this area is huge. And the main focus of starting Southern Bigfoot Alliance was to ally. Yeah, most because we can't cover the United States.
Yeah.
That's impossible. So we do focus kind of on the South, and the alliance part means what it means. We welcome everyone. Let's get this going. So we decided, hey, let's put a post on our page and say, hey, here's the date. Come meet us. Let's do some stuff. And once we did, yeah, we we got a lot of backlash, but we weren't negative about it or anything like that, and it turned out to be awesome, completely. And we're still that way. So if and we've talked about it again, putting another post out when we're going to head up to that area. And you know what? If we're not in that area and you want to go.
Yeah.
We're not there. You know, we're not eyes and ears there all the time. It's impossible, completely impossible. So if you want to ally with us and let's, yeah, like you said, let's work together, figure this thing out. It's going to take an army, like an army of like-minded people that are open-minded and positive to figure this thing out, because not one, I'm going to tell you right now, not one little single group's going to.
Right.
I don't see it.
Right.
I think we,
I really,
Red Rover, will everybody come over?
yeah.
You know?
I really commend y'all for that. I really do. I think that's such a positive aspect to have. And your focus is on the goal of seeing this creature, and whatever it takes, to actually document this critter out in the wild.
It really is. I forgot to mention this too. So the original time Brian went out for the, I always forget this. I sent you a picture too. Brian's holding like a plastic bag. He found 2 hares, and he did send one to Meldrum. Of course, we haven't heard anything back, and I think it was about 6 weeks ago. Brian got a hold of Meldrum, and Meldrum said he's going to try to get on it, work on it. I know the guy's got to be busy all the way up to his ears. I mean,
yeah.
But that's another thing, part of the alliance too. Maybe someone else knows somebody else that also has some good credentials to look at a hare, or like you were just talking about, the gentleman that's going to do the whole casting, and different, like in the water, and that's
right.
awesome.
Yeah,
that is great.
Yeah,
let me know when he does that. I will gladly watch that.
Yeah.
We have to all learn from one another, because none of us really know anything. Not really.
Yeah, I've said it many times. The more I see out there, the more I realize that I don't know squat. I really don't, and that's what keeps driving me.
That's right.
Larry, do we have any more questions, or do you have any?
Well, I know Shane's touched on the research area, and he's brought up the youth events. Have you got any youth event planned for this summer?
The past 2 years before now, we've had youth events. This year, you got kind of sketchy with scheduling and whatnot. It's kind of a downer, because the kids are really awesome. You see the little big eyes coloring books and casting their own prints. We are working on something. Maybe in the fall, because I know that being out in the sun and stuff, the kids get all dehydrated. Some kids, we want them to get all burned and stuff. So we're looking at like a friendly climate to kind of do another one of these events.
Well, I think that's awesome. I mean, I realize that there's different types of outings with different goals, but I think that we should all set aside time to have family outings and to get people involved in it and see the children get interested in it and learn things. And it brings me a lot of gratification to see these children and their eyes light up. And I've been on many of the family outings, and I think it's just wonderful.
I agree.
Hey, you know what? These little guys, these little people, these kids, they're the future investigators.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
In our lifetime, we're going to figure things out.
Somebody's going to have to push me around in a wheelchair, so we got to keep them interested.
That's good stuff right there.
Well, we're over an hour into this. One thing that I want to touch on is we do have our Facebook page, Beast, and you can go to it. We have an excellent file section to where you can learn about audio. You can learn about how to read topo maps. It's just a animal vocalizations that you can match up with any audio that you might capture. And I know the SBA also has a Facebook page, and we invite you to check their page out. And because there's a lot of great information out there. And so check these pages out, and you might just learn something that you didn't know before.
One more question.
Okay.
Are y'all seeing tracks that like y'all come across a lot or just once a year?
Well, the as far as the track casts go, they are focused in one area. Yes. Completely. Which
But
blows our mind.
how often are y'all coming across a trackway? That's a question.
Persistence. It took us, as us being together as a collective, it took us like 18 months before we actually stumbled upon tracks. Open your ears, listen to leads, listen to people that have experiences. A lot of times you can get, multiple leads, and they can kind of tell you the area they live in. You can triangulate an area to go check out. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of time spent. It's a lot of work. It's not like you just like go out into the woods and there's tracks.
Right.
I wish it was that way. I mean, that would make my life easier. But the thrill of the hunt, that is more important to me than
Yeah.
And most of the time, you're not going to find anything. I'm going to tell you that right now. You're not going to find nothing. You know what you're going to be doing? You're going to be camping. And so, unless you don't like camping, it's really not for you, because the first love I have is camp. I love to camp. Put me in the woods. Get me out of the concrete jungle. Get me out of here. There's too many people.
No doubt.
So, just become an investigator. Get on blogs or Facebook group pages. Listen to what people are typing. If you can friend them and private message them, you gotta just keep narrowing it down until you get to something.
Right.
Lucky for us, we have, it's me, Brian, and Dustin. We're all three admins of the page, so we have three minds, and man, we can crank out a lot of work in no time. So all you gotta do is ally.
Yes.
You gotta ally.
Yes.
All right, Shane, we got a two-part question here, and it's opinion-based. Do you believe they are more than just an animal? And if so, does the government know, are they considered endangered species?
I think they're more than an animal. They're intelligent. Like the stepping off and then getting up on the bank and then stepping back off. It could have literally, if it was an animal, just walked down the bank. But there was a decision there to do what it did. So I think they're definitely more intelligent than like regular old critters. Bears are smart. I mean, I think they're smarter than a bear. Do I think the government knows about them? I think the government knows a lot about cryptids, paranormal, UFO, you name it. I think they know a lot of stuff. That's just pure speculation. But, what was just released not too long ago? It was the FBI thing on who looks for the Yeti? What's his what is his name? I should know it. He sent in reports to the FBI, and they just recently released them. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Peter Byrne.
Yeah, Peter Byrne. So why did that just get released? I don't know. I think they're. When I was a kid, this is funny because when I was a kid, I used to always joke about this. Like there was a government zoo, and it's like underground, and you can pay admission and go through, and you can see the Bigfoot, and you can see the alien, and they've got an aquarium with the Loch Ness Monster in it, just imaginative. But I would say that they have to know something. definitely.
I agree. All right.
So, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say we're caught up on questions.
Okay.
Well,
All right. Super nice meeting you guys.
it was great to have you on here, that's for sure. And we know we'll hear some more from the SBA, for no doubt about it.
Yes, sir.
Shane, we know you do artwork. Do you have a page or anything, or is most of your artwork done for the SBA?
Most of it, cryptid wise, is done for SBA. I do have a Crypt Tees t-shirt line that I've kind of neglected, and it's kind of funny. Like I did a booger shirt, but it's like the Gerber baby, but it's a booger, and it says booger on it instead of Gerber. That's been probably the most popular one. Yeah, you can get on Crypt Tees on Facebook if you want to talk to me or ask me how you can get a shirt like that. We're pretty talented fellas. Dustin does leather, and you can look him up at Leather Clark Creations, and he does a lot of Bigfoot type of leather work. He just did one for a group member, Darren. He did a gun holster, and it came out super nice. Did you see that?
I did. I saw that. That was nice.
Clean work. He does really clean work. So, yeah, that's basically what's doing with the art. I have some I even did Sisters of the Moon. I got Webby, and we did her logo.
Right.
Not all Bigfoot. I did their logo. So, yeah, there's always definitely Bigfoot art to be created for sure.
Well, do you have any closing remarks before we go off?
Sure. Look us up on Facebook, Southern Bigfoot Alliance. Join. Come on. Let's get everybody out in the woods. Let's figure this thing out, or at least try to. Eyes and ears. We need more eyes and ears. We only have 2 and 2, and we need more.
That's wise advice.
Yes, sir.
Larry, do you have any closing remarks?
Well, I guess I'll plug my YouTube channel that I don't ever plug.
Well,
Beast of the Woods.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, talk over me, Mark, so I can't plug it.
Well, that's actually what I was going to do, because you don't ever plug it, and so I always add a link to it on our videos. So, and you should go and check out Larry's page, his YouTube channel that he has just started up. It's a fantastic. Tell the folks a little bit about it, Larry.
I don't know. It's just me doing stuff outside. It's about our camping, researching, hiking, fishing, hunting. No telling what'll be on there.
Well, I encourage everybody to go to it and comment on it and like it. And we ask everybody to come to the Beast page and like, if you like our videos, like them. If you don't like them, dislike them. We would like to be able to gauge them. And if there's any topics you want us to talk about, whether if it's reading topo maps or how we camp or whatever, just put it in the comment section, because we always read our comments, and we put these videos out for everybody out there, and everybody has different interests. Larry, you look like you was going to say something.
I was just wondering what Shane was doing there.
Okay, well, as we said at the beginning, we want to thank all of our new subscribers. We really appreciate y'all, and we really thank y'all for coming on board. And so I guess we'll go ahead and we'll sign off, and we'll see y'all again real soon. Thanks a lot for joining us tonight.
This has been a Sawdust production.